So climate change involves many sectors or disciplines such as atmospheric chemistry, geophysics, glaciology, ecology, economics, political science, game theory, international law, just to mention some of the most significant ones. And because these climate change it's so interconnected, the parts are so interconnected, we need integrated, what was mentioned earlier is integrated assessment or integrated assessment modeling to deal with this problem in a rigorous way. And there are things, I'll talk about them in a minute, called integrated assessment models that integrate knowledge from multiple disciplines into a single framework or single model. And the models are based on fundamental scientific theories. They're increasingly computerized. They are computerized. We have analysis as well, but the models themselves are generally computerized models of various levels of complexity. My own work on integrated assessment models began in a very simple model, first energy and then later on including climate, and it began in 1974 when I was at the International Institute in Vienna. And then I think of myself as stumbling along for almost 2 decades, trying different approaches. The first one wasn't right, the second one wasn't right, the third one wasn't right. They couldn't capture the things. Partly it was I didn't know the analysis, partly it was some of these areas weren't developed empirically or analytically until in 1992. I finally landed on, like landed on the moon, I landed on what's known as the DICE model, which is just the name of a model. But I think it captures, it's the name of a model, but it also captures some of the riskiness that is involved. A common goal of the international, say, negotiations and policies is to limit temperature to 2 degrees C above sort of pre-industrial levels. And estimates are that might cost about 4% of our income over the next century or two. This may be good for nature, but it's not actually all that attractive to voters to reduce their income that sharply. So it shows some of the trade-off. Now, that's abatement. I'll say just a word about damages, because in our economics, what we're going to do is weigh the costs of reducing emissions and slowing climate change or limiting temperature on the one hand with the reduction in damages on the other. So you have to go out and do the modeling. You have to determine what the damages are. And you might say, well, that's impacts easier because like abatement, you need the physics and the chemistry and all that. But actually, damages is just economics and ecology, but actually damages are much more difficult. And it's probably the most difficult task in all of our processes that were on that last slide, because it's so far in the future. There are things we don't understand very well. We don't have historical experience of this, so it's actually probably the most difficult. So what I'll do is I'll show you some illustrative results. I suppose these slides will be available, so they will be available? Will they be? I guess they will be available on the website, so some of you who, I know this goes by very fast, but some of you who want to look at them in detail can go back and find them. But I want to show you an example of the results from the DICE model. And this, I want to emphasize, this is only one of many models. There are people in the room who do, I won't point you out, but you know who you are, who are doing other models, and they're wonderful models. There are people around the world who are doing this. The only reason I present, well, the main reason I present it is because I know it, but also it's a simple model, has the virtue of simplicity and comprehensiveness in the sense that it does close all the boxes, the links in that, and other models, some do and some don't. But I would emphasize that these are very simplified models. And so, for example, the climate sector, two equations, whereas if you go to some of the large climate models, they'll have 1,000,000 equations. And so these are these don't have the resolution of the most, the most comprehensive and up-to-date models.